What's up, gangsters? I hope everything is going well and smooth at your workbenches. I have been sitting here this morning wrestling with a little bit of an annoying issue, and as is often the case, I had lots of thoughts swirling around in my head as I was trying to solve the problem, and I just decided I felt like doing a little bit of a free-form rant to express my thoughts about that problem, which is this. I've got these beautiful resin wheels for my B25B Mitchell project from Def Models, and they, like all of Def Models products, are absolutely gorgeous. But you won't be able to really see it very well, but the masks don't fit. They're a little too big and they're not quite round. And I admit, this caused me to have some pretty uncharitable thoughts about Def Models as I was considering my options for solving the problem. I could have cut some new masks with my circle cutter. I could have just blown it off entirely, or I could have done what I chose to do, which was to actually just go ahead and put them on there and then trim around them and try and clean up the oversize. But it was annoying. Now, there are people who are probably watching this who are saying, come on, quit your bitching. Back in the day when I first started building models, we didn't have blah, 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 and you should just be grateful that you've got such great aftermarket products. Hey, I get it. You know, when I built my first model in about 1983 or 4, or even earlier than that, I guess, 1982 probably. Yeah, we didn't have all of the great and wonderful gizmos that we can get with a few mouse clicks today. But the fact is we do. And I would argue that, I mean, am I not entitled to expect that something like a mask is the proper size in exchange for the $20 that I gave up for these parts? I mean, it's a fucking circle. And it has to fit on another fucking circle. It's not that hard to make a match. So, I don't think it's unreasonable to expect that. I mean, look, let's extend the asinine argument that you should just be grateful and get on with it to a different scenario. Let's say that you go to Starbucks for a nice hot cup of coffee. And the poor guy who pours the half and half in your cup happens to have a cut on his finger. And he also happens to have, I don't know, let's say hepatitis C. And let's say that he pours some of that hepatitis C into your coffee along with the half and half. And you end up with hepatitis C, a long hospital stay, and thousands of dollars worth of medical bills. But you shouldn't be annoyed by that. You should just be grateful that you could go to Starbucks and get a wonderful cup of coffee, right? Come on. Anyhow, if any of the asinine arguments used by apologists to make excuses for things like this or for bad kits that have poor molding, poor engineering, poor fit, deserve any time at all, and believe me, that's being generous. There is one that I definitely want to talk about. You thought that I was talking about it just now, but really not. That's the minor argument. It's silly, and most of us know that, and there's no reason to pay attention to it. But here's the one that really is more disturbing, and that's because of the effect that I think it has on people who are a little bit newer or a little less experienced. And that is that you should just be solving these problems with your basic modeling skills. And if you should be so what's the word I'm looking for? So heretical or ungrateful or just downright obnoxious as to suggest that the flaw may in fact lie with the kit manufacturer, then you're told that you just don't have enough basic modeling skills. Now look, This argument is obviously ridiculous on a lot of levels, but let's just go through them. First of all, it's just condescending. I mean, come on. What exactly are these basic modeling skills? Who gets to decide what they are? And most of all, who appointed your pompous ass as the arbiter of this sort of thing? And furthermore, the sheriff of telling everybody that that's what they should be up to speed on. Look, come on. That just makes you seem kind of like an ass, you know? The second reason why this argument is just asinine is because you don't know what somebody's skill level is based on seeing a few little words in a Facebook or a message board post. Even if they post a photograph of their work, you still don't know. Because here's the thing. I can show you this from way over here, and I can say, oh yeah, I solved the problem this way and everything is all fine. But from way over there, can you really tell whether or not I did a good job? It's not until you get right up here like this, come on camera, focus up, that you have any idea whether or not I'm competent. And even then, it's pretty difficult to tell. Look, the bottom line is you have no idea what somebody else's skills are unless you're sitting right there next to them while they're doing the work. And to even suggest that somebody has a lack of basic modeling skills based on what you've seen on the internet is either just willfully ignorant, purposefully rude, or you just don't understand the fundamental nature of the internet. I mean, no matter which of the three you pick, it's still a really, I'm not going to use the word that I want to use, it's still a really very not nice thing to say. But let's get down to what I think is really the most fundamental thing about this argument that I kind of mentioned before. What exactly are these basic modeling skills? Okay, let's go back to my little issue with the def model wheel here. I'm sure that a lot of people would say that masking is a basic modeling skill, especially when the mask is pre-cut for you and all you have to do is stick it on there, right? And I couldn't necessarily argue with that. I mean, masking is something that comes along pretty often in the course of the work that we do. But let's go to the solution that I actually chose, which was to go ahead and stick the mask on there, burnish it down, and then trim around the area that was oversize. Is that still basic? I mean, it cut relatively easy. I used a brand spanking new knife blade that's got a super sharp tip. My experience told me that I was going to need to do that. I kind of had the edge of the rim to use as my guide as I worked my way around it. But even if I had normal dexterity in my hands, I would still consider that a pretty challenging task. I mean, I'm sure that lots of guys could have done it perfectly, no questions asked. But what about somebody that really was maybe only a year or two into all of this, that had never faced a problem like that before? Would you still call that basic modeling skills? I don't know. You know, and the list of those things it goes on ad nauseum. Sanding and filling. I'm sure that a lot of people would in general consider that to be a basic modeling skill. But what happens to the situation where you have, say, a wing root joint that runs right between details that have to be preserved in order for the project to be successful, and there's not a lot of way to get in there with a sanding stick or a piece of sanding paper? And the way that you pull that off is going to be really what defines your level of skill. So again, is that basic skills? Painting. I'm sure people would classify painting as basic skills. But what about when you get to something like spraying German modeling camouflage or any kind of freehand camouflage, or working with metallics like all-clad, or doing a high gloss automotive clear coat. Is that still basic skills? I mean, look, hopefully you get my point here. Nobody really has written a definition that I think any of us are going to universally agree to as to what these basic modeling skills are. So, again, it's a silly thing to say. And I hope that you guys can all see my point. At any rate, I think that's about enough of my rant. It's about time to actually go and paint these wheels and see if my basic modeling skills were worth a shit when I peel those masks off, and if it actually looks decent. If it doesn't, hey, I'm sure it's nothing that a whole bunch of Tamiya black panel line accent wash won't fix. That's a basic modeling fix right there. Anyway, let me know what you think. I'm always open to hearing what you guys have to say when I decide to, when I decide to say anything, but especially when I decide to spout off on something like this. So, let me know. Post something in the comments and tell me your own thoughts. All right, guys. As always, if you've put up with me for this long, I really appreciate it. Much love.